Welcome to another edition of Saturday Smackdown. It's been a pretty weird week, and we will be going over that stuff as the stream progresses. I'm just going to see if we can wait maybe like a minute or two for some individuals to show up for this train wreck. I am really tired of Discord. It's an awful website where it seems like the same things, right? The same things that bother you are just fated to happen again. Like it's just history repeating itself on loop. Um, and I did start to crack the writer's block on the what if video I was doing. So that might come out this week. It depends if I'm able to record stuff. Because like I said, people here every day, all day. So I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but this is the most progress I've done in a while. Yeah, me and my best friend spoke for over 2 hours yesterday, or I guess this morning because he called me after 12, and we had a pretty. I mean, our dialogues are always enjoyable, but I said before that he's someone who, when I speak with him, it's like I can always get some kind of. I don't want to say it's a perspective I haven't heard of before, but just there's something about our interactions that will spark more creativity than a lot of my interactions with other people. Um, he and I were just talking about different stuff. Oh, yeah, my stomach was hurting a little bit earlier, and it's still a little queasy. Which I mentioned before is just that's every morning for me. And it's always really frustrating because if you're up until let's say like 2, and you start getting hungry, so if you eat, you'll feel better at the moment, but then when you wake up, you'll have a stomach ache, and then if you don't eat, you'll go to bed with a stomach ache, and then still be hungry in the morning. So like either way, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You really are just trapped in something you can't win when it comes to stomach aches and hunger. Like you have to just pick your poison. It really sucks. But I met a pretty crazy person a couple of weeks ago, and I was very shocked to find out the things I did about them. Um, I guess this stream is kind of like a sequel to which one was that where I talked about that whack broad. It might have been last week. I know it was some point because this is all stuff that's happened recently, like in the last couple of weeks. But I remember one of my overarching criticisms of like modern chicks is that even when you try to just be platonic with them, it starts getting really irritating and annoying, and you start to question, is this even worth it? Because there's this ability that some of them have where, and I called it like uh erotic subtext. So it's the idea that you're not actually with this person, in a romantic manner, but they act like you are and they get upset with you as if you are. Or they ask things that are indicative of someone who's actually interested in an individual in a romantic way. So, for example, with this crazy broad that we'll be discussing, um, I was in a stream at not a stream, excuse me. I was watching someone in a server stream at about maybe 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was tired to where I wasn't doing anything on my computer. I was just watching the screen, right? And this broad starts sending me messages, like different DM messages, and I don't respond to them because I'm not typing anything on my computer. I'm just sitting here watching this thing. She comes into the VC while I'm with this other person. Goes, oh, you act like you're so busy, but I see you with this other person. Yeah, you act like you're so busy, and then like jumps out of it after a minute or 30 seconds of saying that stuff over and over. And I just thought it was so weird. I was like, what? Why? Because My thing is, if I haven't responded to somebody in a couple of weeks, a month, I can get where they're upset. But she literally just wrote this stuff, notices that I'm in a call with someone in a server we're both in, and flips out. And it's so weird. I've never seen someone like assert that if you don't respond to them within the hour of them sending some messages, then they're being ignored or some other. But it's just weird, like who the hell are you? Or I have to respond to you as quickly as possible. Like, you got your damn mind. But that's just one example of her insanity. Man, I really thought when you stopped approaching this chick stuff would be easier, but like even just knowing them on a platonic level is too hard now because they're just all the little weird emotions they start showing and the way they act, really drive you crazy. Now, getting into the big scandal, because I do want to kind of go over this stuff in order of events. So this is about 3 weeks ago. I meet this crazy broad. I don't know if she's crazy at first because we're just having a decent dialogue, but she gets upset because I join a VC in the server after she says she's going to bed or she's done for the day or something. And then just like all these other chicks online, she has to have her daily depression. So she says, "Oh, I'm feeling bad and I don't feel like speaking to you and don't take it personally," all that stuff, right? So I just said whatever. Uh And then a few days after this is when the thing happens where she jumps in the VC and tries to confront me over not responding to some DMs, which, like I said, I don't really take seriously. It was just being her being weird. Um, so roughly a week ago, maybe two, it was sometime after this, there's another broad. And I mentioned this before. This person I spoke with for 4 hours, and then out of nowhere they blocked me. Wish I could say that's the first time it happened with a chick on Discord, but it isn't. But it was still annoying, right? So I get into this call with both the one that blocked me and this other one that acts bizarre, and this guy. And I'm like, because I said before I'm a sore loser. So when someone does something that I think is offensive toward me for no, especially if I think it's for no reason, I'm kind of insulting the person and making fun of them, like, "Oh yeah, you're so brilliant," just sarcasm and stuff like that. Um, and this is completely different from how I treated them before they blocked me. I was, where I would say I acted, in a cordial manner. And then I get a DM from this crazy clown asking if I have a crush on the chick I'm making fun of. And I'm like, what about anything that was, but it's like they actually think that any man that talks to them, regardless of what he's actually saying, is trying to get with them or is interested in them in some romantic way. And I even said to her, what the hell would I find appealing about a woman who I don't even know what she looks like, who is so bipolar that after promising to speak with me again later that same day blocks me? I mean, like, what semblance of that would I find attractive? Oh, you were flirting with her. It's like you must have a really screwed up definition of that word. So, anyways, this really gets on my nerves because, like I said, I don't like being accused of things that I know I didn't do, especially when it comes to like stuff with chicks, because people use them as like a crutch to try and attack you with. So the basis of her argument, because she's like, "Oh, she has a boyfriend." I'm like, "Oh, wow, I never would have seen that coming," but it still is irrelevant to your accusation toward me. He's like, "Oh, you were flirting with her, not her with you." I was like, "No." So I didn't respond to this for the rest of the day because I just thought it was stupid. And I just said, "You know what? I've been putting up with stupid stuff from this chick, this particular broad, for about 3 weeks now. So this is what I wrote. This is my final message, and before I ended up getting rid of her. I said, I will write this once and that will be it. There is nothing attractive about either you or her to me. You are faceless voices on a computer who I only talk to when I want to play a video game. Egotistical enough to think that I'm interested in you romantically because you believe anyone with a penis who speaks to you automatically finds you desirable. For the past 3 weeks, all you have done is complain, curse me out for things I didn't do and accuse me of liking you. I would rather drink bleach or jump off a cliff than speak to either of you again. And then I got rid of her. Ugh. Told you my patience for this stuff is at its thinnest point ever. No, one of the quickest ways to get me to be disinterested in speaking to you is start accusing me of stuff. You are flirting with her. I would never. I don't know why people think like you're supposed to be attracted to chicks. You don't even know what they look like. She had some picture of some broad on her as her, but I mean, she could have stolen that off of Google for all I know. And then the crazy one has her avatar is like a picture of the top of her neck or like I guess like her chest and then the upper part of her crotch. It's so weird. It's that thing where people will take an image of themselves but they're too afraid to show their face. I was like, just go away. Thank you. So people, chicks online always think somebody wants them, or do you want some other chick? It's like, no, I don't want either of you. You're both really insane, and you have mental problems. Anyone that would accept someone's friend request and then block them later that same day after promising to play with them or talk to them or do something else with them again, without again the person didn't do anything to you, you just accept the request, say you're going to speak to them again, and then block them. There's something wrong with you. The sequence of events don't make any sense when put together. So I made sure to wrap that up. I'm just not interested in another repeat of some of this other stuff with these chicks where it gets dragged out for months and you're trying to, because I've already had that happen on Discord where there's like some broad that keeps pissing me off and I just you give them chances or you what do you call it, you don't really think too much about them, so you kind of start and stop noticing, oh man, it's been a month since this person said hello to me. Oh, it's been a week since this person said hi. Stuff like that. You don't really get to figure out because you're not thinking about them that often. That's the only way they get away with this stuff because there's so many of them to where no one stands out anymore. It's just like whatever. Oh, yeah, that woman stuff is just such a pain. Like if you don't enjoy speaking to someone, if you are so irritated by that person, like just go away. Apparently this week I'm gonna have a rematch with the one that was sitting there trying to debate me over the chick stuff last week. Because she said she wants to have another call. I hope it's not as awful as the previous one. That's one of the worst parts about a lot of this woman stuff that just people they just start losing their minds. Like if you hear the types of things they say to defend them, you really will notice. There's not even an attempt to be logical. Akatsuki Merchant says, yeah, a lot of these broads are clinically insane, egotistical bastards who think they are special because they have a vagina. Right, and that's what gets me. They like this one. I don't even know what this broad looks like. She did something that pissed me off to where I was making fun of her, and you think that means I'm attracted to her? She's like, I'm a girl too. I notice. It's like whatever. I swear, man. All it takes for chicks to think you want them is to just speak to one of them for like a minute, and then make it like it doesn't matter how you interact with them. If you laughed at something they said, they think you like them. if you don't laugh at anything they say and insult them, they think you like them. I mean, this is really nuts. Like they just believe any man they talk to online is trying to get with them. No, I'm not overvaluing anything. No, you can have these insane chicks. I won't even notice that they're gone. I already said before, they don't like just the thing is you don't even have a difference between chicks and men. Like most chicks nobody's ever heard of. Most chicks no one is ever going to even be aware of because most people are not famous. But then for some reason I'm expected to exercise and become rich just to go on just to maybe get a date with one of them. But it's never the other way around. No, I don't overvalue anything. Certainly not random chicks, because I already said, and I've shown when they start acting crazy like that, my tolerance level goes down, and I just get rid of them. So there, because I mean, that's the thing when you have so many of them that do the same crap, no one really stands out anymore. They just kind of blend together. I just had something similar happened to me. This broad had the goal to make a snide remark about my mother, told her to kick rocks and blocked her. Oh yeah, that was what Triple L tried to do at one point where she was like, because I made some comments about my mother, and it was the point of the comment was to say, if I don't have a problem speaking to that person for whatever the period was, then I wouldn't have a problem speaking to you. And she was like, "Oh, when you have a negative relationship with your mother, it impacts your relationships with women." And I was like, you and your psychological BS need to just go and just be gotten rid of, because if that is true, how the hell were we able to speak for almost a year? But again, it goes back to this thing where she doesn't want to accept the idea that she has possibly done something, on her own to have upset me to where I don't even want to talk to her anymore. She has to try and make it an excuse of, oh, see, this thing out of my control is the reason you want to talk to me. It's like, no, I don't want to talk to you because you're annoying and you get involved in stuff you have no business being involved with. No, they love playing up the mother stuff or like trying to infer based off your relationship with people that they've never even met or heard you talk about that this is like that's a factor in the romance crap. It's like it's so weird too because like what it's stupid. It's stupid. Again, that psychological stuff is when I start turning my interest away from speaking to people about this because if we're gonna play a game where every time you have a criticism of chicks in general, and then somebody's like, "Well, what is your relationship like with your mother?" It's like irrelevant to this. Has nothing to do with this. No, they love doing that, trying to play psychiatrist. And like I said, it doesn't even matter anyway because all they're gonna do with it is just like if you could answer that any way possible, and they'll just use it as an excuse to try and attack you over. It's all part of their generalization crap. Oh, you didn't have a good relationship with your mother. That's why chicks treat you like garbage. It's like, whatever. I don't know. It's just a dumb thing they like to say to generalize people because they don't want to accept the idea that chicks are the ones who screwed stuff up for themselves. They have to like put these psychological explanations of stuff that happened that has nothing to do with them. She basically told me that me being a decent human being wasn't good enough and that I had to be better or die lonely. Who says stuff like that to people? I mean, we all die alone, even if we're with someone in a relation, unless you get killed together. But also, it's like, what does being better even mean? Like, why is your quality as a person determined by if random chicks who have never even done anything of merit uh, reciprocating interest? Like, that's why I said it's weird. See, that's what happens when people are like obsessed with romantic relationships. They become convinced that being with this random broad is indicative of who's a good person or not. The just world fallacy. Just this is weird, man. Like, sorry, lady, I'm not going to kiss the ground women walk on just to get their affection. I have too much integrity. Well, I already told you before, juice isn't worth the squeeze. They just sit there and they expect you to do all this stuff for a group of people who, remember, they don't owe us anything. So they don't owe you anything, but you owe them the 900 steps that these different romance advisors tell you to engage in. Platonic female friends in general. I mean, I tried to do that on Discord and these other websites, and they act crazy. So I just think in general, the less chicks I talk to, the better. Like, unless it's some kind of, there has to be some purpose behind if you're doing like a project or some other, like creative thing. But outside of that, I don't really bother with them. They tell too many lies. That's the worst part about just the last like year or two. It really showed how awful chicks are. Like, just to speak to, even if it's not romantic, like, they're terrible. I don't owe you anything, lol, but you owe it to me to kiss the ground I walk on because I have a triangle between my legs. And that makes me better than you. I mean, hey, if you listen to these guys online, you would think that. Because like I said, they gave 900 different self-improvement tips for me, but never for the other way around. And you're supposed to look at that and think that has any semblance of being fair or that's appealing to you. Don't know if you read, but apparently, like a third of men ages 18 to 30 have very little experience with women, as in their hers or haven't had intercourse slash relationships in years in America, at least. I'm surprised they even admit it. You know, that's why I brought up the thing about hookers. If people, if like, the thing that really gets me about chicks is that I've had multiple encounters with them where they'll try and do this thing where they say, "Oh, men only want me to have intercourse with," and then you have this thing that they never can give a proper explanation of, where it's like, if you believe that the only thing that a man who's interested in you is intercourse, why would he speak to you week after week, month after month, for something that you still at any point could just not give to him, when if he lives in the US, at least, he has multiple states, or excuse me, he has a state he can go to where he can pay a price and get that done over the weekend, referring to, Vegas, Nevada. So like it doesn't make any sense. Like the amount of effort to just get that and again, it's not guaranteed. It's not something that any reasonable person would engage with. No, they have no character flaws at all. They don't need to change or better themselves. And the reason for that is actually that they have a surplus of men who will always be interested in them. So there is no incentive to be different or to do something that is not what they're already doing. I told you about the one broad where she made an account with no picture, and she had not one, not 10, not 20, not 30, not four, but like almost 50 guys trying to message her. You think that person's gonna change and go, oh man, I shouldn't have? No, because who she is, even if it's barely even known by these guys, is enough to warrant their attention. Women are allowed to have character flaws, but if you, as a man, even have a phobia, it's treated like an Achilles heel, and random dudes you've never met before bombard you with unsolicited advice. Remember, that's why the one I spoke to, that broad, got into trouble last week or the week before that, because nobody asked her for her advice. She's like, "Oh, it's like talking to a brick wall." It's like, yeah, no, you're making yourself frustrated. I didn't at any point in that whole call go, "Oh, random chick online, what should I do? Please help me." I never asked because I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less about hearing her advice, about her opinion on the matter. It didn't matter. Her opinion on the matter doesn't matter. And the only reason I even stayed and participated in that call was because a lot of people online have this belief that if you abruptly hang up on them, or like block them or unfriend them, that they somehow won the discussion, like they said something so profound that you just couldn't respond to it, and that's why you had to do what you did. It's like, no, I'm more annoyed by what she's saying because it doesn't make any sense. And it was very easy to counter her arguments because they're crappy. Men and women have similar standards. Now, why the hell aren't there groups of chicks who complain about getting rejected by men over and over? Where's the femcel forums with the hundreds of chicks that are and thousands of members who have said they've never been on a date? Exactly. Doesn't exist. Every time somebody tries to say that men and chicks have like the same problems or similar issues, or it's about even, that instantly makes me not want to talk to you about this, because I already know what type of delusion you believe in. I already said before, if men in general just didn't message or say anything to chicks for like a week, they would start losing their minds because they love the attention, and when they don't get it, they notice something's off. Everybody was talking about the feminist era, and chicks are so great, but like I said, if, there's a reason why they're on social media posting pictures of themselves and doing all the right, because they like the attention. I told my best friend yesterday, you have some chicks who on Insta garbage, they'll talk to 30 men, and they might only like romantically like two of them, but they'll talk to the other 28 because they like all the DMs and all the responses. No, I'm just tired of them. They're a really irritating group of people that constantly get everything they want, and people are just expected to nip at their heels and try to impress them. It's like, What are you even trying to impress? Like, what do any of these chicks do that remotely warrants all of this effort? I'm serious. I'm just at a point with chicks where I don't care anymore. Like I see chicks I think are attractive all the time, and I don't even bother saying anything because I just don't think they're worth investing the time into that I used to. Like sitting there and talking to someone for a few weeks or a month or even longer than that, and then they won't even go on a date. Like that era is finished. And clearly they don't have a problem with it because they still have a whole laundry list of men that will sit there and put up with their BS forever. Which is why it's always so funny when you have people like Triple L or that other broad from last week that are, they try to make it sound like it's so dire. Like, if you don't speak to women, how can you ever improve? It's like it doesn't matter. They still have all these different guys that they talk to. Like why does one man saying he doesn't want to talk to me anymore warrant hours of people trying to debate him and write paragraphs about why he should continue? It's like just get out of here. I'm not that consequential. Back in December, I started talking to a girl. I went on a day after a week. Anything bigger than a month is too long. Within 1 month, we should go on a date. No, you're supposed to just sit here and ask them out and talk to them until the end of time, and just keep begging for one of them to be interested in you. And it doesn't have to be dinner; it could be casual lunch or. Well, remember, we deconstructed dates. We said when you go on a date with someone, you don't have to kiss them, you don't have to touch them. If you don't like it, you never have to do it again. It's not this big binding, life affirming thing that people on here make it out to be. It really isn't. Which is why it's all the more insane when they've deluded themselves into thinking that you're supposed to just sit here and keep trying year after year. Eventually, one of them will go on a date with you. Eventually, at some point, like what a joke! All this effort for just again the tiniest bit of romantic reciprocation from a chick. Kotsky Merchant says before his grandmother passed, one piece of advice she passed down to him was to never ever compromise my integrity just to appease people who don't even care about me. Well, remember, we've been over this before. Like most of the chicks you speak to really couldn't give a rat's behind about you because the second you stop speaking to them, they're going to pick another man or another several men to talk to. You know. By the way, we had this same dialogue with the broad that was in what do you call it from last week on Piscord, where she was like, "Oh, you wanted to get married at 19? That's too young." And I was just thinking, and I said this to him like, "So wait a second, you have people because we're going to bring this up and other stuff too. You have people who have kids when they themselves are children when they're underage, and they're allowed to do that. There's just nothing against the law. If you can stick your banana in somebody and they pop out a kid, it happens. But you have people who do that. But then I can't put a ring on someone's finger as an adult, according to you, by the way. I point out the hypocrisy of that to her, and then she had the nerve to say, "Oh, could you afford the wedding and the car and all of that at 19?" It was like laughing. I was like, "You don't know what I own, first of all, but secondly, it doesn't. I don't know if people are aware of this, but it doesn't really cost that much to get married. I don't know if people have actually considered that. Like you don't have to have a ceremony, and you can just go to the courthouse and pay a fee, and then you and the person are husband and wife. You don't. It doesn't actually cost that much to become someone's spouse. I don't know if people have considered that. Like in my state, it's $80 to go to the courthouse and get the paperwork. That's why it's so weird. Like they just like the fantasy. Look, Envoy, no offense, but I really don't want to see you after what you did on Monday, where you came to that stream and had that cameo when I was trying to talk about Sonic 2. And then after my internet was acting up and I came back, you wouldn't come back. And then somebody sent me a an email that showed that you were at the movie theater for 6 hours watching Morbius. So I don't really want to see you abandon me for that vampire. I'm really tired of my subs doing that. They keep going to see that movie over and over. This thing has made $300 trillion because you guys keep sitting in that theater watching the vampire doing, just get out of here with that. I mean, you can put it in cap locks all you want, but in your heart, you know it's all true. And again, it's like if it was your first viewing, maybe your second, you watched it 3 times back to back. You guys watched the movie so much that Sony already confirmed there's going to be a Morbius 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So thanks to you, we're stuck with a double trilogy of that stupid vampire. And then one of you invited him to my stream a couple of weeks ago. He said it was Megumi, but I don't think it was. I think it was somebody else. While I think a man should be open to look abroad, it's sad how many American men struggle finding an average woman. Average, that's the issue. I mean, we're at a point where average chicks are like considered gods among men. Like chicks nobody ever heard of. Chicks that are like, I mean, if you think someone's attractive or whatever, but they're not exactly posing on magazines or anything. Just random chicks who don't own anything, nobody's ever heard of. They're considered above people's league for some reason. Oh, Megumi, I was just confronting Envoy. What happens is AMC Theater sent me an email where they showed that it was a 6 hour file of him sitting in theater watching Morbius on repeat. He won't go see Sonic 2 once, but he'll watch Morbius at least 5 times in 2 weeks. That's how he rolls. So I'm not expecting to see Envoy anytime again soon, because I already know what he's going to do. Right after this stream is over, he's going to get in his little red car and put on his tap shoes and drive back over to the theater and watch Morbius at least 4 more times. I mean, I couldn't sit there and watch the same movie for 7 hours. That's really nuts. But you can have him. He's watched the same film over and over, just on excess and repeat. I mean, apparently it is. If he's sitting in the theater watching it 3 times back to back, do you do that with movies that you think suck? And he won't even watch Sonic 2 once. Talking about if he watches Sonic 2, it'll be while they have to repair the theater for where Morbius is playing. That's going to be his filler movie. I thought it was good too. I thought, hey, let's make a pun. I thought Sonic 2 was good too. But he said unless Morbius is not playing for like an hour and a half, he won't be seeing it because he's got to watch his vampire at least once a week. And then when it comes out on digital, he's going to be playing it at his house several times a day if he's there. He knows all the cast members. He's memorized the script. I'm like, damn, this is really crazy. So if he disappears from this stream, you know where he's going to go. Because I was like, where did he go? I like my stream got disconnected, and then I came back on, and he was gone. And now I know where he is. No, you're not watching Buffy. You're not watching Twilight. You're watching more BS. The movie that was so awful, they put it up on April Fool. They released on April Fool's Day because they wanted to fool us into thinking it was part of the MCU. No, I remember Megumi pointed out that Sonic 2 was released on April 1st. Like, well, Sonic 2 isn't a deceitful film that's trying to convince us it's set in a universe that it's not in. It's just a sequel to the first one. It doesn't have crap that's in the trailer that's not an actual movie. You know, it's not a narrative. We saw you sitting in the theater weren't with your little red shoes, and when you couldn't watch Morbius anymore, you sang the blues. So I really hope that after today, you stop watching this movie over and over. It's an addiction. You need to diversify your interest. Talking about this is the second coming of Jared Leto. I mean, I would prefer playing the vampire over gangbanger Joker, but I'm not. I don't really get the hype behind this actor. Yeah, I just really hope that Carrie's not retiring after it because they said that he's going to that he's like if he retires, they're not going to get a new person to play Eggman. So I don't know how you do Sonic 3 with who was in the post credit scene and then not have Eggman there. It's kind of weird. Oh, I made that same comment before. I was like, all these people that play Joker. You got Jack Nicholson in the original '89 movie. Ledger in Dark Knight. Out of all the people that played Joker, the first one in a movie to play him more than once had to be the gangbanger version, the worst version by far, by a landslide. It's not even close. Out of all the ones to play him more than once, it had to be that one. Well, I was trying not to say who it was because I didn't want to spoil it. So now people are going to attack my stream and said, "Hey, you ruined Sonic 2 for me. You told me who was in the post." Like, no, I didn't do that. That was Envoy. He typed it in the chat, and he did it while he was smirking and drinking his little red and black drink. Well, I thought they were going to do an adaptation of Adventure 2, but again, you can't do that if you don't have Eggman. So I don't know how that it would work. Maybe they'll have Metal Sonic in this place. It'll just be weird. Well, your younger sibling has some strange taste. And you can get mad, you can insult me, you can call me out of my name, but I don't get what his problem with that film was. Yeah, I don't get what people's infatuation with Morbius is either. So I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite internet memes ever. Just the Morbius sweep where like somebody edited Wikipedia to say that Morbius was the highest grossing movie of all time and at 300 trillion tickets sold. Yeah, that's the nickname we have for it. More BS. Like Sony is just full of crap. I don't know what their cinematic universe is supposed to be. Like, oh look, we have Spider-Man characters, but no Spider-Man. Yeah, really exciting. Oh, we're making a Craven movie next year with the guy that played Quicksilver in Age of Ultron. Oh, well, I like Craven, but I really like him when he goes against Spider-Man. So if you guys can't use him, it's kind of like why bother? He complained that there were too many human parts that they weren't relevant and were just filler. He also didn't like how Sonic characters were poorly portrayed in the movie as well. How are they poorly portrayed? I mean, I think they made Knuckles a little too dumb for my taste. Like toward the end, where he doesn't know what basic stuff is, but I liked him all the way up until then. I still would say I like him overall. And I thought Tails was pretty accurate. And in fact, I actually said that I really liked that they kept his video game voice actress, that they brought her back instead of getting some random celebrity to voice him. But no, the human stuff actually does tie into the first movie because the ring brings them over to that wedding, and then you find out that it's the same like agency from the end of the first film with the Olive Garden thing. So it's I would say a lot of the stuff that would I would deem as not being as interesting as just the main story still ties back into stuff we already had from the first movie, which again I like because they made their own lore with the film universe, and it's nice to see them expand on it. And I guess maybe I'm sour from the MCU and a lot of the stuff that they wasted that never paid off anywhere. So I don't know, maybe that could be like a side effect. Because remember I mentioned that in Homecoming, I was like, oh, they've got Scorpion. I can't wait to see him in the next movie. And then he never reappeared. And then in the same film, Aunt May finds out all the way at the end that he's Spider-Man. I'm like, oh my God, Far From Home is gonna be about like what is it like to be the mother of a superhero? Because we've never seen any version of that character find out in live action that her nephew is a superhero. And they just completely skip over. Like you pricks. Damn, that was terrible. He was hoping for Sonic to be portrayed in the same as he is in Sonic Adventure 2. His personality is very different in the movie, is what he means. I mean, I would love for them to, get Ryan Drummond to play him again, but they couldn't even do that with the games. I doubt they're gonna do it with the film. Like I said, I thought it was better than the first one in pretty much every way. So I don't know what else he wants. I guess then that opens the question: do you like the first one? Because if you didn't like the first one, there's a solid chance you're probably not gonna like this one either. But then it's like, if you didn't like the first one, why see the second one? Because a lot of people do that where they don't like a movie, or they claim they don't like a movie series, they just keep watching it. It's like, I didn't like WandaVision, so now I'm gonna watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, and after I don't like that, I'm gonna watch Loki, and then after I don't like that, just goes and goes. No, I don't get people at all with just the way they act and the stuff that they're into and just the choices they make. Like, you have a lot of people who hate watch, who see a series of films or just a series they don't like, and they just keep coming back. And I try as hard as I can to not be that way. Like when the Dragon Ball Super manga was getting really boring and it was focusing on just Goku, which it still does now, I don't read it. I stay away from stuff like that. I thought the human scenes were well paced and decent, was good to watch, worth watching. Again, he likes the first one more, I think. Well, see, that's what doesn't make any sense because the humans have less to do in this one than they did the first time around. So I don't understand how his whatever. I'm at a loss for words. I don't get his logic. 100% hate watch is a real thing. Look at social media. The disturbing thing, a lot of times the incentive to hate watch is to go on here, like to go on this website and other ones and make a video on why something new that came out sucks because your subs are going to go and agree with you and then like click the like button and you get paid for it. I'm kidding. A lot of people exploit dislike of modern media to get attention. And it's like every video is this sucks, this is bad, this sucks, this is bad. It's like, yeah, you're trying to get paid off of doing that. Which again, I'm not going to be the one that says they shouldn't, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't watch or read something I don't like so that I can get a couple of bucks off this website. That's just my opinion, though. By the way, I'm gonna have to be right back. All right, I've returned. I kept all of you in suspense and waiting and very upset, but I had to do something. What were we talking about? I think it was Sonic 2. Yeah. Um, I don't know how a third one can work without Eggman. So I really hope Carrie isn't retiring. Did you go to watch a quick scene of more BS? Now, that's more up Envoy's lane because me being gone for like what was that 10 minutes is different from him being gone for 7 hours. They had his face on a milk carton, and he was sitting up at that theater watching that vampire. So we know where he goes. And that would take too long. Like to get up there in that quick a time, it would I would need at least 20 or 30 minutes to walk over there. It wouldn't even be possible. Yeah, I'm really annoyed by this thing over here. Oh, I wished I lived alone. So if you can hear that, I apologize. There's like a running gag where there's some noise that's out of my control that people complain about. Like when I was at the motel, this guy was like, "There's a beeper in the background." Like, okay, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, am I supposed to go outside and smash people's windows and demand whoever's beeper that is turn it off because some random prick on the computer doesn't like hearing that? No, if there's a noise outside, or just even around here, I can't control it because it's not me that's doing it. So that's just another way in which you have to bear the cross for the sins of others. I just really hate it when that individual plays that loud crap because you can get demonetized or you can get copyright strike depending on what it is. But they don't care. It's just how they roll. Empathy is a lost art of the human element. No compassion whatsoever. No, I was saying I don't know what Sony is planning on doing with their weird connected universe because if you're going to do a Craven film without the person that people want to see him fight, and then after that you're going to do Venom 3 and apparently Madam Web, it's like what is this leading to? But that's why I said I don't have any ambition for what lies ahead for them. I think they're going to try to use Venom 3 to introduce Null, the creator of the symbiotes. He's either going to be in that or he's going to be in the next one or some other crossover. But then it's like, who's he going to fight? Venom and the weird vampire, and I guess Craven. Like, really? Sony has usually played a lot of things close to the chest. It's just one of those wait and see game. Man, forget that. Let's go over the cinematic universe. They've been wanting to do this since the Raimi trilogy was a thing. That's when the Venom spinoff idea started, because they wanted Venom to be to Spider-Man what Wolverine is to the X-Men movies. Then after they rebooted, they still wanted to do the Venom film, and they were trying to do Sinister Six and Black Cat and all this other crossover spinoff stuff. And then that series ended. And now they're just trying to do some of those ideas, but without the main thing that ties them together. No, Sony doesn't make any sense. What is the end game goal here? If you watch Venom 2 and more BS, tell me what is this supposed to be leading up to? What is the thrilling conclusion that we're gonna get? I tell you, if you watch the first Iron Man, Hulk, and Iron Man 2, you already know it's going to Avengers because at the end of Iron Man, you get the Avengers Initiative. Hulk, you see, Tony show up at the ending, which a lot of people were shocked by when that happened. Because His cinematic universes of superheroes back then were a joke or just like a fever dream. And then Iron Man 2, you have Fury and Widow there to again set up Avengers. With the Venom stuff and with Morbius, I don't know where this is going. Like you're gonna make a Sinister Six where most of the members have never even met Spider-Man. That's supposed to be his the culmination of all these films. Yep, and you could even tell Thanos was gonna be a big time player when he showed up. I mean, you knew that from when Avengers came out. Infinity War had a 6-year buildup. Like you see Thanos at the end of Avengers, and then you see little pieces of him through other stuff, and then he finally shows up in Infinity War. But what I'm conveying to you is I don't see where the Sony verse is going. It just seems like they're trying to keep a license to the stuff they have, and they want to see if they can make coins off of it without being able to tell a good story. It is kind of funny that everybody that's not Marvel that tries to do a cinematic universe always fails. Like Sony tries to do the TASM verse, right? That didn't work out for them. They canceled after 2 movies. What was that? I think it was Universal. They tried to do like the Dark Universe, where it's supposed to be like remakes of Universal horror movies. And then after the Mummy came out and bombed, they said the hell with that. Um, and even with the DCEU, like Justice League didn't meet their expectations, so they just abandoned plans for that. Everyone that tries to do this, other than Marvel, doesn't end up, going where they wanted to. I want to see Black Adam. I don't know if you have high hopes for The Rock in that role. I mean, I'm more excited for Flash because, you got Michael Keaton coming back as Batman for the first time in 30 years. And, one of the greatest comic book movie villains of Zod also in that. So, I'm just kind of like neutral on Black Adam. I don't really care one way or the other. I guess something else I'm excited for. Now, the second I heard Zod was coming back, I got so excited. I was like, what? But other than that, I'm not too thrilled about that. And they're really not even trying to do like crossover stuff anymore. If you notice, like if you look at the slate of films they had between Justice League and Flash, there's really nothing that I know in Peacemaker you have Aquaman and Flash show up all the way at the end, but like there's really nothing of them. It's basically stuff that takes place in the same universe, but kind of loosely, like just it's in the same universe, but they don't cross over ever. Just a bunch of people that operate alone in the same dimensions. No, Zod was amazing. I hope he lives through Flash and they use him in some more stuff. The big crossover for them was, of course, Justice League and BVS. But yeah, I noticed that they're going too much in that direction. Well, I mean, if like that's kind of like saying the big crossover for the MCU was the Avengers films. It's like, yeah, they do one and they do a couple of solo stuff and then another one and then some more solo stuff and another. We had Justice League and then that was it. Like that, you realize how long ago that was, right? Like Justice League came out before Aquaman did, and we're getting a sequel to Aquaman before we get a sequel to Justice League. Make it make sense. Oh my god. me see what else is here. Where did Megumi go? Did he go? Did he go to watch that terrible film again? He decided to vanish. Well, they luckily still have Dark Side trump card in their back pocket for when they want to make JL movie. We don't even know if they want to make one though, because we've heard nothing about it being in development. We've heard nothing about it being confirmed. 2025 release date. We don't just it's just a fever dream for people that like the Snyder Cut. At this point, it's still just a thing that people want that they're not getting from the studio. So even if they have that trump card, if they never use it, what good is it? I still hate that we didn't get Man of Steel 2. Because when I was just hearing some of the ideas about like they were gonna have Supergirl, and the thing is her and Superman have never been in a movie together, like a live action film. And then Brainiac, who it's like him and Riddler that are tied for the most attempts to put them in something and it didn't work out. I hope it's not an issue with the act. Well, it's an issue with Affleck because he doesn't want to play Batman anymore. But Cavill is very enthusiastic about playing Superman again, and it's just a very weird choice by Warner Brothers executives to not even bother. It's like this is one of the most iconic superheroes of all time. Why would you not make a sequel to his newest? Whatever, just something's wrong with these people. But it's not an issue with Cavill. Like everyone that was in Man of Steel has said they were open to coming back. So it's all just DC being, excuse me, Warner Brothers being ridiculous. So I said people just like they get goofy when they're in charge of these studios. They start okaying stuff doesn't make any sense. Like I can't get a Green Goblin solo movie, but you'll go and make this film about a vampire that nobody ever heard of or cares about. So I said people are so goofy. Like who at Sony was like, all right, let's see who's in our arsenal. Who can we use? Oh, we have this character that no one knows. Okay. I'm telling you, I've been online for a long time and I've never seen anyone say they want a Morbius solo movie. I've never seen it. Not once on any message board form. Well, we were supposed to get a Green Lantern Corps movie in 2020, and then it got delayed and pushed back, and now nothing has come out of it. So we're always going to be stuck with the 2011 film. Well, that BS Ryan Reynolds movie is all you're going to get. You had a good cartoon and end up getting canceled for that movie's failures. I'm telling you, out of all the reasons to get rid of a good show, that was insane to me. You're going to cancel this TV show has nothing to do with this movie over the sales of toys for the movie. I remember how unsuccessful that film was. Like it was 2 years after the movie came out. You go to Toys R Us and you see what they call them, peg warmers, where it's all the Green Lantern stuff that nobody wanted. Well, what about the Batman and Robin movie? It gets too much hate. I mean, I feel the same way about Batman and Robin I feel about Superman 4. Like there's a reason why they almost killed both of those series. I said before that TASM 2 is the new Batman and Robin, except not as funny or interesting or not even as interesting, but just like as entertaining. Because there are like decent performances in both. Like I think that Garfield and Stone are good in TASM 2, even if the film is not. But with Batman and Robin, the only performance I think are pretty decent are like the one for Poison Ivy, Uma Thurman, and then like Chris O'Donnell and Michael Gall, and that's about it. There's one scene in Batman and Robin that's really good where Alfred like talks to Bruce and he's sick and like you see the flashbacks of him like taking care of him in the past, and it's really nice, but it's not because the film is like this big sentimental amazing thing. It's like, no, because this is the one actor, Michael Gall, who was along with um the actor who plays Commissioner Gordon, that was involved with all four of those. They had to keep recasting Batman, but they never had to recast Alfred. Oh, Pat Hingle. There we go. That was Commissioner Gordon. His name slipped my mind for some reason. That's bizarre. Yeah, if I want a sequel to Returns instead of Forever, I'll probably just go read Batman '89. It's a pretty decent comic. I think I read it all 5 issues so far. I've really been liking it. So much so that I hope they if they can't, they're not going to do a live action version of it, but if they can't do that, maybe we get an animated version of it with all the actors' likenesses and the voices from them. It'd be great. I'm sorry, Megumi, you can have Batman and Robin. I'm not going to be part of that film's rehabilitation. I mean, I would rather watch it than TASM 2. Or what's the other one? I think, yeah, I'd watch it more. I'd rather watch it than Superman 4, but or Elektra or Catwoman or what's just yeah, I'd rather watch over that stuff, but then again, I am the one who likes GT, which most people dislikes anyway. Well, again, there are things about GT that I think are actually good. Um, but I'm not going to be part of the group of people that starts to say that Batman and Robin was good. Like, there's a reason why the whole film series almost died after that came out. So you can have it. Because GT did not kill Dragon Ball. GT was an extension of a series that the original creator tried to end. That just didn't turn out to be as popular as the previous series, and then it ended, kind of, prematurely in the eyes of some people. And then we still had Dragon Ball games and various media until Battle of Gods came out, and everything got pumped up again. So I would say GT was not in the long run a negative influence on Dragon Ball, but I would definitely say Batman and Robin was a negative influence on Batman. Now you can't even get a live action version that makes jokes or has any kind of comedy in it at all. Like, now you're stuck getting dark, grim stuff forever because people don't want to have a repeat of that movie. I'm telling you, for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you're not going to see another Batman thing that even attempts to be lighthearted in live action ever again because of that film. And just like TASM 2, they had to cancel so much stuff. They canceled what was it, Batman Unchained? That's the movie they were going to have Scarecrow with Harley trying to get revenge for Joker's death in the first film. They canceled the Robin spinoff they were planning, the Batman Beyond adaptation. Like, so much stuff got killed because of that. I mean, you can like something, and but I'm just trying to speak in an objective manner. I don't like GT, but you're not going to see me say that it killed Dragon Ball because it didn't. So I'm just telling you, it's like, if some of these films you can point to them and say, yeah, this one ended this, it killed that, destroyed these other things. The only reason I would watch Batman and Robin again is just if I want to laugh and I want to see all the Batman films that Michael Gall did. Other than that, That's always the biggest problem with trying to watch the four of those together. Like you have two of them with a pretty consistent tone, then a third one that's kind of a little, lighthearted, and it's got a different person playing Batman, but you're supposed to believe it's in the same continuity. And then the next movie has another person playing him. Just I just get tired of all those damn recasts. Like three actors playing them in four movies. I noticed the envoy got really quiet, a little too quiet. No, it's really sad just the way some of this stuff works out. But I always found it interesting when you look at a lot of the canceled stuff that studios, don't go through with, and then you hear the people who were working on them, and they talk about like it was the most amazing thing that we were cheated to not have seen. It's like it's so funny when you can have like barely anything of a movie, like some storyboards, a script, and you're like, this would have been the best one. I mean, I don't like either. They both have one arc that I think is good. With GT, it's the baby arc or saga, and with Super, it's the Universal Survival Tournament. But I still would say I'm not a fan of either series. The only thing Super has over GT is that it's at least a little bit better at using different characters. But at the same time, it's like at least with GT, I don't have to sit there and watch a start the show off with a crappier version of the movie that's stretched out. So I don't know. I guess I would say Super, but it's kind of like saying, would you prefer to get thrown out of a building or set on fire? Like they both suck. Like I'm not interested in either one. I'm good with these. I don't know. I just think Dragon Ball After Z just gets, and even during Z starts getting kind of ridiculous with all the red herring and forms that don't even do anything. So well, that's my answer. Oh, I was thinking of doing a remake of the Hooker video, and when I was like sitting there and just looking at the little parts of the script I wrote so far, there was one thing I thought about that just kind of clicked in my mind. So I said before that I have proof that there are chicks who say they don't want to go on a date, they don't want to get married, they want to have kids. And the one thing that we were discussing during the stream I did on this topic, years ago, was that people will say, "Oh, you know, with Hooker, you can't have a future, and that's why regular chicks are better." I'm like, well, wait a second. If you have regular chicks who admit that they do not want to have any type of long lasting thing with you, whether it's getting married, family, um, you know, being a couple, as far as like going on dates, then they've just removed the one thing that they had over hookers. So now you can expect to get like it's just really funny to know that some of them actually are outright saying they would never do any of these things with you, like none of this stuff, right? But then at the same time, people are surprised that you don't want to put up with a group of people who just like are just not willing to give you anything you want. So that was something I noticed, that like the one thing they had over hookers of like, oh, you might be able to build a relationship with this person. When they say they don't want that, that's them taking their one trump card and just balling it up and throwing it in the trash. Oh my god. I just thought that was really funny. Like the one thing they have over hookers, and they're too dumb to actually like at least pretend this is something you want. I mean, you look at the chick I recorded, the one that was in October. It's like, so I'm gonna fly to your country to have intercourse with you, and then that's it. It's like, well, hell, I could go and pay a hooker this, an even cheaper price in the state right next to mine. That was just something I noticed. I was like, wow, of all this stuff, they really do this. They really just sit there and, you know, like actually think that like when you because I said before, when you don't have people that compromise, yeah, the way it's supposed to work is I take the points I made in the stream and like, present it in a more organized manner. And then the other part of it, it could be half, it might be like only the last couple minutes. It's just me addressing the stupider comments on the video because there are a lot of them. Like the one chick that said, "I would never be with a man that has prostitutes." Like, okay, well, you think he would tell you that he was with one before you? It's like what a bizarre vow. No, they take away the one thing they have over hookers and just are then they're surprised that you don't want to put up with them. They're like, I can't believe it. This man that I wasn't interested in, and I told I didn't want to do anything with him, is going to try and talk to a hooker over me because I am saying I don't want to do anything with him. And like, wow, who would have guessed? I guess they just really enjoy seeing a guy suffer with this for all eternity. It's messed up. Yeah, that's why you have people who encourage men to like keep going out and trying to initiate stuff with chicks that don't care about them. Because a lot of people get remember what we said before, and they found you amusing for a while. These women that called you their friend. But the one thing a woman loves more than a friend is to see a friend fail, fall, die trying. In spite of everything they've told you, eventually they will hate you. Why bother? Listen, if I think a woman's unattractive and I don't like her and I don't find her appealing, I'm not going to talk to her. It's not hard to not speak to someone unless you work with them or you're at some like really tiny school. It's not hard to not talk to someone you're not interested in. But like I said, I'm not like these chicks that I don't need attention from people that I'm not in turn attracted to. So for them, since they do, they'll sit there and speak to a bunch of guys, just lead them on, right? And then you're supposed to just keep putting up with that forever. Because remember, if you complain, you are creating a self-fulfilling prophecy and you're so negative. By the way, I told you that same chick said that she thought all the men who approached her just wanted intercourse. I'm like, so wait a second. I'm negative because I won't talk to chicks that have been proven to want to waste my time. But then you're not negative when you say that you think every man that approached you just wanted. And the thing is, I always say I don't put it past these men that a lot of them probably did. But again, you're supposed to be the positive person who believes you just keep trying, things will be different. So why would you say something like that? It's just really ironic. I'm negative, but you're the one saying that every man that shows interest in you is trying to have intercourse. No, they love seeing a guy suffer. That makes them feel really powerful. It's just really irritating because I was trying to explain this in the past. You can't have people who don't offer any incentive being highly sought after, like because we've been over this before. If when I see regular chicks, I don't get excited to talk to them. Also, the why being a straight man is detrimental would be great to see as well. I got a whole backlog. We have the never ending accidental pregnancies, all kind of different stuff that to go over. I'm just saying some of these are easier than others because they're either there's like a new thing that has formed. Because a week ago I didn't even think about that until just having this conversation yesterday. It's like, wow, that's actually a thing they do. People look down on a man for doing stuff with a hooker, but then they also are okay with chicks who are pretty much turning themselves into that. I mean, if you can tell another human being you don't want to date them, you don't want to marry them, you don't have kids with them, all you want to do is to have them have intercourse with you. I mean, I'm really trying to figure out what's the difference between you and the hooker other than you don't get paid to do this. Because I don't really I'm not a fan of these like meaningless hookups. It doesn't do anything for me, especially if it entails having to speak to somebody for weeks or months. Just for something as minor as that. Yeah, you went to quickly get something to eat and went to pre-order your copy of Morbius on 4K. We know. You went to go get that steel book. No, I would put out that audio if I was. I just don't feel like sitting there listening to it. It's just it's so irritating to have a person who they can't concede the validity of any point, and they're just like pulling stuff. See, when you have to start making up BS statistics like, oh, most men have the same standards as women, according to what? Because you say so. Your views are not the most popular ones, according to what? No polls, no statistics, no proof of anything. I can show you a poll that's a statistic that says this is the birth rates at a 30-year low. I can show you ones about marriage rates decreasing. At least if I make a point, I can say, okay, some stuff is what's the way of saying it is autobiographical, but some stuff I can prove is a fact. I was thinking about the other day, I was talking to my close friend. I honestly think there needs to be an institution for adults where people could go to school for dating, mainly aimed at for people in their 20s, 30s, and early 40s. I mean, hell, they have a sex ed class, but they won't have a dating ed class. Nah, you should have seen how angry I was with that broad. She really acted like getting married cost $1 million. Like, what's the matter with you? I mean, it just goes back to that same problem with people online. They're very condescending, and they get surprised when you react in a way that is like nasty toward them acting nasty toward you. Well, that's my thing. When you pay a hooker to do this, you don't have to sit there and try to befriend her and have weeks and months of prologue. No, you just pay the person, they do it, and then that's it. And if you want to do it again, you can get that person's number, and you can have your sequel at some other point. I'm just saying, I don't understand the like this weird. People, I think it's funny. It's like they always say that men are obsessed with intercourse, but it's always chicks that bring it up. Like I didn't mention that at all when I was speaking to her because I don't care. It's just it's this thing that people are obsessed with, and they're one of the things that they're obsessed with is pretending that it's hard to get it. Like they always try to say, "Oh, this person is a virgin." It's like you just you can get this for a price. Like I'm just put it like this: it would be harder for me to get a date than to get someone to bang me. Like it's not difficult. And hell, you can. I said before as well. I've had interactions with hookers where they said if you pay them, they will go on a date with you, go and eat somewhere. Like they'll say, "Oh, hookers won't marry you or have your kids." Like, yeah, neither will regular chicks. So, what exactly are you missing? What's funny is you'll have some people shame an athlete or celebrity for paying for a hooker. The amount of money he probably spends on a hooker would be equivalent than trying to wine and dine another bro. Well, see, that goes back to this thing because they act like regular chicks you don't have to pay for. Like if you just meet some regular woman, oh, she's gonna be okay with you never spending anything on her, and she'll love you for who you are, and she'll be all right with you trying to save your stuff. No, date one of these modern chicks for a year and see how much you have to spend on anniversary gifts and going to see a movie or going to eat somewhere, and I guarantee you it'll be some price that's much higher than anything you pay for to have a one night stand with the hooker. I guarantee it. That's how silly this all is and lacks so much. What word did Megumi type? Let me zoom in. Nuance. That's why this is like we've been over this before, like how it's a complicated situation and nobody wants to acknowledge that. This may sound effed up, but honestly, with a lot of women, there is a price in some form or fashion. Yeah, it's not screwed up. And I mean, a lot of people have a price. I mean, like you think if some woman comes up and says, "I'll give you $1 million to go on a date with me," you wouldn't do it? Yeah, like that, like they're so pure and incorruptible. No. Why do you think these guys always say become a millionaire or aim to make lots of money? You go up to one of these chicks with that, and you think they're gonna say no? Yeah. But just like on the topic of nuance, in the video I'm doing on like what if I was a parent, I had a part where I talk about how you have a lot of people, and you've seen these comments before, Megumi. They're like, "You're too young to worry about this. You're too young. You're too young. You're too," the stupid garbage that Triple L wrote. It's practically blasphemous to complain about a stagnant love life at this age. And I was like, you can tell these people never thought about this stuff beyond just surface level observations. I have never done a single video showing off family members, their health conditions. It's just in the video. For all these people know, I could want to start a family within the next 2 years because my mother has cancer and she's going to die in 3. You don't know that. But again, it's as though they can't think to themselves, maybe this person's motive for wanting to do something by a certain point is more complex than I initially thought. But why do you need to have a house to go on a date with someone? Like, what does that entail? Are they going to come back there and live there with you forever? Like, by the way, please don't get me started on chicks that live with their parents into their, you know, non numbers that start with a 1 or 2, and they still have men that like them and are talking about how important they are to them and all the rest of that stuff. Please don't get me started on that. But no, I was just saying that that's another nuance of this scenario because Sometimes a person who you would consider young and therefore having all the time in the world actually doesn't, because someone they care about does not. Like that's something none of these trolls, none of these people that call themselves giving this unsolicited advice, none of them ever think about that. And look, the example of my mother having kids, that's not actually true. I'm just telling you that these people don't know that because they've never seen a single goddamn member of my family besides myself, and they have no idea if any of their health conditions or scenarios play a cause in me wanting to do something by a certain point. Just like Megumi, for all we know, uh, your sister could have, I don't know, died last year, and then you want to have a family in 2 years because you don't know if your elderly mother is going to be alive to see it happen, to attend your wedding. That's why these people really piss me off with their all the time in the world garbage. You know, you're only this age. You can't complain about this. Like it's not about me. But again, to acknowledge something like that would be to admit that there is a level of, let's say the N word, nuance to this stuff, um, that entails doing more than just having surface level dismissiveness towards someone's complaints and their legitimacy. You have plenty of time. And dude, the thing is, like I always say, how do you know that I have plenty of time? Because there are certain diseases that like sneak up on people that like kill them abruptly. Um, you've actually had some children that die from, what I'm talking about. They're like terminal illnesses that affect younger people. You don't know what I have. So I said they just don't think. They just watch a guy on a video and then, oh, I know everything about you. I know you're too young to complain. You're too ugly to ever be found attractive by chicks. You don't exercise. You don't own anything. You're probably shy. You're probably nervous. Just all this stuff. They just rip out of the thin air and they use it to blanket smear everybody that doesn't agree with them. I really hate these bastards for that because I came on here trying to have a legitimate discussion where people actually listen to each other. And just like Envoy's last word, you just get dismissed. People are putting off starting family later and later, but it's not like is Tanny is a grown man old enough to join the army, drink, own a house, start a family. And like I said, when you live in a world where people have kids before they themselves are even adults, don't try to tell me I'm too young to get married or do it. Like, don't. The second that stuff gets said to me, I stop even remotely taking the person saying it seriously. And I'd said before, every time I look at the ages of, I don't want to say my ancestors, no crazy crap like that, but it's like, I looked at my dad. He was when he was my age, I was born. I look at my grandpa. He didn't get married until he was in his 30s, but he still was with in romantic relationships. And my father's my great grandpa, he was married by the time I think he was like 25. So basically, this idea that you have to be a certain age to get romantic reciprocation from chicks is BS. At least historically, anyway. And if you really have to be 30 just to go on a date with someone, that's truly nuts. And like I said, the people who are peddling that stuff, their own lives contradict their advice. Like I said, Lady Like and Logic stupidly admitted that she had two guys ask her to marry them before she was 20. You're gonna sit here and tell me I need to wait until my third decade to have one bimbo show it? Get out of here. Yeah, that's why I said I just don't like people online because they say stuff that doesn't make any sense, that's very contradictory, that is very surface level. They're just stupid. That's the thing. Either you will have males in your life getting romantic dates related to married to kids. The issue is some guys aren't getting anything. Well, that's my point. It's like I'm not asking to get married or to have a family. You're asking for a date. And they're telling you to wait years for that and not have a problem with it. You get what you get and you don't get upset. I said before, modern chicks are pricks because they know what they're doing is screwed up. They know that talking to 30 different guys, goes nowhere. It's wasting everyone's time. But because they like the attention, they don't care. It's so bizarre to me that people have legitimized an era of chicks getting attention like there's no tomorrow, right? 10, 20, 30 guys trying to talk to a chick, especially if she's online. And at the same time, a bunch of men who get so little attention from chicks that they make whole groups to talk about their lack of interest from members of the opposite gender. They think this makes sense that like there's something balanced about this. It's completely unstable. And like I said, now it causes it to where every time you speak to a chick, you don't know if she's if she says she's not interested in you, you don't know if that's because you're doing something wrong or she's talking to 20 or 30 other men. Because remember, we've been over this. They're not going to tell you how many they talk to. And then after she says no, guess what you have to do? Start all over. Just keep spinning on that wheel while also being attacked for being the only person that tried to make stuff different. It's funny how that works. The one person that's trying to make stuff change is the one that gets blamed for why it stays the same. A few dates, something a guy by the time he's 18 should have accomplished, but no, wait till 30. I mean, maybe you do meet someone at 30, but there's so many years in between that. Well, again, this goes back to what I was saying of how I don't believe it's normal to have an individual of either gender that wants to be involved in a romantic relationship have to wait multiple years to have that happen. I just don't think that should be a normal thing. Because remember what they always say to you: not all women are the same. Not all women are the same. So if they're different from each other, wouldn't you meet at least one a year that would be willing to go on a date? That's too much to ask. Yeah, got to keep rebooting and restarting when chicks get to actually progress. Yeah, I told you the dingbat with the baby's been dating the same guy for like 6, 7, 8 years. But then with you, well, you just have to keep asking out chicks. And when they say no, just ask it another one until forever. Even though if they keep saying no, we're going to blame you anyway and say you're not good enough for them. It's perfectly healthy for you to want to date women. Some folks will treat it like you're having a disease just because you have a strong drive to date women. How is that a bad thing? Remember, we demonize normal behavior. Like I had one guy on Piscord tell me I was weird for wanting to have a family, like for talking to chicks with the overarching plot or incentive to doing that to be wanting to get married and have a family. That was weird to him, even though millions of people have done that. But somehow that's weird to him. Just again, like you're in an era that tries to make normal stuff that men have wanted for just since the beginning of time bizarre, because we live in the twilight zone. So 20, 30, 40 guys talking to one woman, that's normal. But one man wanting to just go on a date and, having like in the back of his head the grand goal of like starting a family and being married, oh, that's too much. That's weird. That's bizarre. And like I said, one of the reasons I hate the I word so much is that if you look at the stuff they say about those guys, they're like, oh, they just want to have intercourse. It's like wanting to date someone with the overarching goal, right? The main thing, like end point for this to be marrying the person, have a family. That's like that is so much more meaningful than just banging, and that's why I said these people don't actually listen to what is being stated on my end because what I want does not match this group that they try to lump me into. But again, when you're an ignorant piece of garbage that doesn't believe in actually hearing out what someone is saying before you spin your narrative about them, you end up getting these types of results. This guy just wants to get laid because it's so hard to do that. They act like it costs trillions of dollars to have a hooker do it. I really like all the stuff I hate about the modern era is that people pretend just having intercourse is this like impossible. It's not. It might be with a regular chick, but it's hard to do anything with regular chicks. You can't even get them to sit across from a restaurant with you. Time to oversimplify you and lump you in a box and dismiss all the things you actually would like to see from getting into a relationship. Yeah, because we're not in an era where people actually use their brains and think about stuff in a logical way. They just accuse you of stuff, because they feel like it. It makes them feel strong. No, that woman stuff is just it's all bad. Funny thing is, a casual date can last 40 minutes to an hour. It's such a basic, fundamental aspect of modern day human experience, but so many are losing out. Well, I've said before, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So, do you really believe that to sit across from a restaurant with some woman for an hour or watch a movie with her for 2 hours, you need to go on a decade-long quest of talking to dozens or even possibly hundreds of chicks just to get one to agree to sitting that? But that's my point. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. Like, these people have turned simple things into these complex, arduous quests, and they're just not worth it. When going on a date with someone becomes harder than passing the bar exam, you got something wrong. I already said before, I could run for office and I'd have a higher chance of winning than getting a broad to go on it, like getting a non-hooker broad to go on a date. I'm not even joking. I might only get 10 votes, and that would still be like a better chance of getting what I ultimately wanted than this woman stuff, because it just goes nowhere. No, that chick thing is the most stagnant stuff I've ever seen. You just sit there spinning your wheels, having a bunch of people blame you. And it's so funny because they'll say you're like, oh, your content's repetitive. Like, yeah, life is repetitive. You want me to go out and ask chicks out for the forever, and then when they predictably say no, because that's what they like to do, right? 'Cause we have whole groups of guys they said no to. You're gonna blame me for that, even though you weren't there. You don't know what happened, but you got to put me on the cross because I have to be hung out, since you can never criticize chicks ever under any circumstance. And then people have the nerve to be surprised when you don't want to put up with this stuff anymore. Like by existing and being, I guess, a straight man, you owe chicks this continued, never-ending effort. You get nothing, and you're told that they owe you nothing, but you in turn owe them trying to like impress them over and over, starting anew with a different one each year, or each month, or each week. And people really don't get why this is unappealing. So I said it's just sad that like grown adults believe this stuff. Like actual adult human beings are like, oh yeah, if you just keep approaching chicks, eventually one will say yes. Like, right, but how long is too long? Like, that's why they hide behind this "you're young" stuff, because it's their way of saying you're just supposed to put up with this for as long as conceivable until one of them. And remember, The same broad that ended up that said that garbage is the same one who said that she believed I would prematurely cut off a woman that was interested and then never explain what prematurely is. So you could talk to one of them for like 8 months and then you say, I'm done with this. And they're like, you prematurely cut her off. Remember, either way, you just can't win. No, this chick stuff is the worst. And it really does get to a point where being in a relationship almost becomes something of a fairy tale. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. I could never picture myself you go on a date, whatever, but like actually, oh, me and this person live together and we sleep in the same bed and they have access to my codes and like I can't see myself ever having that kind of trust in a woman. I'm just telling the truth. Because again, when you're by yourself for so long, you get more used to that and it becomes almost like something of a fantasy. Like, oh, yeah, wouldn't it have been nice to have been married if one of them actually, reciprocated ever? Because you aren't ever supposed to get tired and stop speaking to them. Only they are allowed to do that. Yeah, when chicks take breaks from men, they're called independent and they're celebrated and lauded as career oriented women. But if you take a break from chicks, people accuse you of being gay and they say that you gave up too early and you probably did this and you probably did that. Anything we can say to defend a dingbat? One of my favorites is when you speak to someone for weeks and months and they stop logging into their account or they are online for hours but ignore all your messages. That's happened so many times. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? Do you want me to be Technus from Danny Phantom and hack into their computer and make them right back? Like, but again, people don't want to acknowledge that sometimes the woman screws it up. They'll never admit that. Sometimes you have a man that tries over and over to make some work with a woman, and she just doesn't budge. She doesn't reciprocate. She messes it up. She ruins it. They don't want to admit to something like that. I think every man has been through that at least once. Whenever that happens, cut the tie. Yeah, but you get where it's annoying when you keep just like when I was blocked by the chick on Piscord out of nowhere. I was more irritated by the fact that that was a repeated thing they had done than her as an individual. Because that was just a broad new for one day, whatever. But it's like I'm really disturbed by this being a pattern. Like this is something they just keep doing. Like multiple chicks now have done that where they talk to you for a while and then out of nowhere they unfriend you or they block you. That's happened multiple times. And you're like, again, when do you say enough is enough? When do you get to retire from having your time wasted? When does it stop? Apparently not. Again, that's why I said the chick stuff is irritating. It's not enjoyable, and I truly believe that there's something wrong with modern chicks. It's not all of them, but it's enough of them to where this keeps happening. Because remember, when I told you when I was younger, I used to think, oh, there's something wrong with me. Women don't like me. And then I came online, saw all these different guys with the same problems. Like, well, are we having some kind of like initiative where it's just how many men can get rejected by chicks year after year? Yeah, a lot of double speak, double standards. Some women will tell men to be emotional and open up more, but if they say something they don't like, you then become that creepy guy. Well, that's my thing. It's like I don't really know what they want. They complain about men closing stuff off from them and bottling up, but then, you know, I don't want to say toxic masculinity, but I mean, when you start getting told you're crying because like it'd be one thing if I was like, I really loved her. But if you just calmly articulate, I would have preferred if she did this. I would have preferred if this happened. They'll say you're crying. So it's like, what then? Are we just supposed to pretend this isn't going on? Are we supposed to just not say anything? Keep it hush hush? I do that enough in real life where like people mention relationships, and I don't let on how I actually what I truly believe, because I don't feel like debating every single person that mentions this stuff around me. I don't feel like arguing with everyone. I don't feel like wagging my finger on, oh, this is not true. No, this woman stuff is a cancer. It is a disease on modern society. When you live in a world where all you have to do to get attention from people is have a vagina, which it's not like they're extinct or they're like there's barely anyone with one of those, then there's something wrong with that. There is nothing about chicks that makes them inherently better than men, other than the fact that they can pop out a kid, which, by the way, a lot of them don't even want to do anyway. I had a broad on Piss Court that was bragging about getting her tubes tied. It's like, really, this is who you people prioritize and try to make sound like they're so. Which, again, all I'm saying is I don't understand how these random chicks are getting to like screw up men and just get away with it forever. Twilight Zone is it's such a lovely place. Double standards. People attacking you over everything, but letting chicks get away with anything. It's just a very sad cycle. Well, remember, equality only means something to them when it benefits them. So, oh, we want to be treated the same as men. That's why it's only going to be men that approach us. And when men get rejected, it's only them that people say are going to rape someone or shoot up a school. Because equality, yeah. So they only want equality when it benefits them. Because if there was real equality, you know what you would see? Whole groups of chicks talking about how hard it is to get a date with a man. Whole groups of chicks getting accused of being what's the word, misandrist, like hatred for men, even if all they're doing is critiquing specific things that certain men did instead of actually saying all of them are bad. You would see that if things were actually fair and equal, but they're not. Equality in the modern era is a pipe dream word that people don't actually want. You're not going to like no chick that is part of this movement is ever going to get to a point where she willfully says, I'm going to waive my rights to have a bunch of men always give me attention, and now I'm going to go out and approach them. You're never going to see most of them do that because it's too good. They like having all these guys trying to DM them and get their attention. It's like you're not going to see it. Megumi, I could have 100,000 subscribers, and you would see more. You would see some woman nobody ever heard of getting more men trying to talk to her than women trying to talk to me, and people have the nerve to talk about this is equal. Not at all. When a guy talks about his problems of getting a date, he gets ridiculed and accused of crying, mainly from other guys. When a woman talks about her, she gets positive reinforcement from both sides. Yeah, that's why I said don't let people convince you that complaining about them is a bad thing, because there were years where I didn't say a word about chicks on any website and I got the same result. It just kept coming. It's like, all right, to hell with it. That's still my favorite thing when I try to say that by complaining you're making it worse for yourself. Like, no, it was already bad. Like if I'm already drowning and I start saying, man, this sucks. I hate water. Like it's not going to make the water sink me faster. You can't blame the aftermath for being the cause. Like I didn't have romance videos before getting rejected by chicks. They're a byproduct of that. Anyways, I'm gonna get off of here because we've been going for the usual time. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'll do another one on Monday and then, even later in the week, possibly. So thanks for showing up. Have a good rest of your day.